Aujourd'hui, nos invités, Antony Bertrand-Grenier. Je suis allé regarder ce que vous faites dans la vie, Antony, c'est incroyable. Ingénieur physicien médical, Master of Science en biophotonique, PhD en physique médicale, professeur associé et chargé de cours en mathématiques à l'Université du Québec à Trois-Rivières et doctorant en épistémologie. Ça va? En fait, la question qu'on se pose ici à Toulouse, c'est pourquoi vous avez un fauteuil de gamer?
Je suis aussi gamer.
Ah bah ouais, ok. Samuet Buisseret.
J'hésitais entre la science et être pro-gamer.
Ben oui, vous faites les deux là. Samuet Buisseret à ma gauche, producteur, vidéaste et créateur de la chaîne YouTube. Comment elle s'appelle?
Monsieur Sam,
exact.
point d'interrogation.
Monsieur Sam, c'est bien que vous sachiez ça.
Ouais,
je crois qu'on peut applaudir déjà nos invités. Et nous avons en plus l'immense honneur donc d'avoir Antony Magnabosco, qui est Executive Director of Street Epistemology International. Hi, Antony.
Hi, Antony.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here with you today.
We'll start with you, Antony, and this secret of yours. What is street epistemology?
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me here today, and I apologize in advance for speaking in English to this group today. I really wish I was fluent in your language, but street epistemology is largely a secret, but it shouldn't be a secret. It's a way of talking with people who hold beliefs that are different than ours and engaging with them in a way that helps them take a better, closer look at how they reasoned to their current conclusion. So it's a way of having a dialogue, typically with a person. We try to identify the claim that they're making and the supporting reasons. And we do this through the act of asking questions. We try to take our own views out of the conversation and make it about their claim and their reasons and their method that they use to arrive to their conclusion. So it's a little counterintuitive. Normally, we argue with people when we encounter beliefs that we disagree with. We'll often ridicule people because they think something, maybe they think the earth is flat or something along those lines, or any other claim for that matter. But what we're learning through psychology and our own personal experiences in having these types of engagements, that presenting people with facts that show that they're wrong typically don't tend to have very many results. Now, you may be lucky and give the person the exact piece of evidence that they needed to hear that they found convincing. But when we're using a Socratic approach like street epistemology, we're trying to figure out how they became convinced. And it's through the process of them explaining how they arrived at their conclusion that tends to cause them to reflect on it more, to the point where they may even lower their confidence in their conclusion and even get rid of that belief completely. So I'm very excited to be talking to your group today and being on this panel with other people who are in this space, because I think this is the future of engagement on difficult topics. We see the fake news that's out there and the challenges, the dogmatic thinking that we're seeing today. And I really do think that this is a potential solution to that problem. So thank you very much for having me here today. Really appreciate it.
You use the word Socratic. On what extent is it different from the meiotic the Greek invented a few years ago, a few centuries ago?
A few.
That is a really good, excellent question that we've been trying to understand ourselves. And every time I ask somebody who is familiar with the Socratic method, I tend to get different answers as far as what that is. But in a general understanding, the Socratic method tends to focus on the specific claim and then defining that claim to the point where maybe you have a very clear understanding of why somebody thinks that it's true. In street epistemology, we tend to go a little bit deeper, I think. We also tend to take into account the psychological underpinnings of belief. In the Socratic method, it's largely a very direct charge through the belief. You're sort of I hate to say bull in a china shop type of thing, but you're usually just sort of talking about the claim itself. In street epistemology, we're cognizant of the things that our brains will do to prevent us from reflecting on our beliefs. So we feel that it's very important to have rapport with your conversation partner, to actually get consent to explore their belief, to recognize maybe when they're becoming overwhelmed with your questions so that you can back off and give them some time to think about how they arrived at their conclusion. So that's largely the biggest difference, but it's so similar. It's hard to really pick out the differences. We're developing a course to teach people street epistemology, and we're comparing it to the Socratic method, and we are finding that it's very, very similar.
Alors de ton côté, Samuel, oui, donc je vais continuer en anglais. Hein.
Ouais.
You use this kind of method.
Yep.
You have your own very little dirty secrets in order to avoid the family feud on the Sunday lunch, where everyone disagrees. And you have the miracle method.
So big warning before, my English suck. So very sorry for that. I just want to say something more. Maybe you will agree or not, Antony. But I think Socratic method is more about knowing before if the people you are talking is right or is not right. So you know before at the very beginning of the conversation if this person, what the person say is right or not. But in the street epistemology, eventually we don't care if the person is right or not. We just want to explore how and why they believe what they believe.
That might be a really good distinction. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sam. Yes, the purpose of using a dialogue, a tool like street epistemology, and engaging in a dialogue is to leave people with a clearer understanding of their own reasoning. And the conclusion that they're arriving at may actually not be true. So we're less interested in the truth of the claim, and we're more interested in how they determine that they can be so confident that their claim is true. In street epistemology, we're largely exploring the person's feeling of confidence in their conclusion. And once a person realizes, maybe I shouldn't feel so strongly about my conclusion, that can be the opening point to belief revision.
But the conclusion could be right. It's not so important. So what was the question?
Your secret method.
My secret method?
Yeah, in
for
order
what?
to reconcile yourself with the other member of the family, which strongly disagree with your views.
You have. I was talking with somebody about that before. You have two ways to explore street epistemology. You have the expensive way. You want to have long talk. You want really take time to explore, and that's the biggest problem of this method. Is very time consuming. But what I have on my side is more people saying, my mom don't want to take the vaccine, and we are always comment disputer encore?
Arguing.
We're arguing, and it's very annoying because I don't talk to her anymore. What can I do? And what I try to do is to take the substantifique moi là.
the inner essence. Yeah.
The essence of the essence of street epistemology, and because what you really want when you are in that case is keeping contact with your family, with the people you like, you love, and street epistemology have a good mind disposition. It's you are curious about how your mom come to the conclusion, I don't want to take the vaccine. So you forget about the vaccine. You don't care anymore. You just want to be curious how your mom is thinking. And this I get back. I get email back, and they are very happy because it works really well. They can talk with family again. And
maybe we should have a little demonstration later. You show me how you do that.
Tomorrow I make a conference at 11 o'clock about street epistemology, and I have an example from Antony in video.
We call it plagiarism. but it's fine.
But I can explore your own.
No, my inner death. No, I'm working tomorrow morning here.
What are your beliefs, Boris?
Yeah, not yet. Antony Bertrand-Grenier. Comment on passe? How do you come from being a medical physicist, biophotonic, all this mathematical stuff, and now your center of interest is epistemology? Why? What changed in your life to do that?
I was always interested in philosophy, but my professor of philosophy in college said to me that I was good in science, so I should go in science. But after all, after 10 years science, I went to philosophy, epistemology anyway. I'm interested in what is a knowledge, what is a belief, and that is my thesis actually. So yeah, I'm really interested in epistemology. How do we create knowledge? What is knowledge? What is a belief? And science is a good method, but I was not questioning the method when I was studying in physics and in biophotonics. So when I'm studying in philosophy now, I'm questioning the method of science. That is why
you were blind, but now you see. So what is the difference between a belief and a knowledge? In 5 minutes.
How much time do we have?
You got.
Well, my easiest way to say the knowledge is a data that you acquire from the mind directly. If I read in a journal that there is a car accident in Toulouse, do I know if there is a car accident in Toulouse? No. What I know if I read something in the paper that said that there is a car accident in Toulouse. My knowledge is directly. A belief is when you think that something is true, but there is a lot of authors that differentiate them, and there's a lot more authors that consider that knowledge is a form of belief. But I think it's going to be too much time for me to explain everything about that.
What are your opinions about street epistemology? Is it useful? Is it a good way?
It is extremely useful. I didn't know about it about like 3 years ago when I saw Mr. Sam on YouTube. Comment
faire comprendre à quelqu'un qu'il a tort? Et pourquoi c'est une mauvaise question?
And that's when he showed Antony Magnabosco some YouTube video, and I've read about it. I've learned a lot about his videos. So I didn't know about it. I was always arguing, and it was not really working well for most of people. So I learned street epistemology, and I'm using street epistemology in everyday life. For example, I'm an engineer and medical physicist. Last week, we had a problem because we had to buy a machine to treat brain cancer. And we have one machine from a company that got 150 studies that show the efficiency. And the other one from another company has no study to prove the efficiency. So people were like, yeah, but it's not because that there is no study that it's not working well. So I ask only 2 questions. It's kind of a street epistemology. It's asking questions. It's not only 45 minutes time. So first question I ask is, if you go to a pharmacy and you hesitate between two drugs for example, headache, will you choose the one who got 150 studies that prove the efficiency, or the other one that doesn't show efficiency with studies? And the second question is, now you have a brain tumor and you have a one-shot deal. Will you use the machine? Do you prefer that the doctor use the machine that has been proven with efficiency, or the other one? And it was only 2 minutes. It was only 2 minutes. I didn't need to say how you're confident with this belief. So street epistemology is really adapting for everything. It's not only 45 minutes or 100.
You have to get personal to sensitize people to.
There is some requirement. Yes. Yes, you have to be in a good. Comment on dit? in a good, you have to be friendly with the people you talk.
Yes.
It's really important to be in a good condition. Evenly, what I usually say is, before coming to that kind of question, just ask, what was your last film, the last movie you saw? How are you? Where do you go to holidays? Just make some.
You have to establish a link between you and.
Yeah, okay. Very important.
So, yeah, let's ask the other Antony Magnabosco. Smooth voice, yes. Antony. How does it work to establish this friendly link with someone you've never met before, and you have to put him at ease, to make him or her trust you for the time being of the exchange? How do you do that? I want to know all your secret now.
I mean, the best thing that you could, honestly, I think the best thing that you can do to help a person feel comfortable, which is a key part of street epistemology or any type of approach where you're asking questions like this. If you have a very guarded conversation partner, you could ask the best questions. But if somebody's uneasy or they don't trust you or they're guarded, then your questions won't land. They won't have the impact that you're likely attempting to have. So some things that I'll do is I'll just try to be as transparent as possible. And it's a little bit challenging with a stranger because they don't know you, especially if you're recording them. And I like to record my interviews. So there's some additional hurdles to overcome. But basically, I simply try to explain what I'm doing, give them permission to ask me as many questions as they want. And then we start off very slowly. And Mr. Sam nailed it. It's very important to build a little rapport. What brings you to the trail, or what are you studying at school here today? Or how long have you been driving for Uber, or something along those lines? Making a personal connection is really key. And but don't ask fake questions.
Really feel the empathy. It's important.
Yeah.
Feel the empathy.
Exactly. Yeah. Be genuine. Just be your genuine self. And if you're naturally a curious person, that is great, because that type of curiosity is so important. But once you have that trust, you could easily lose it. You can make a joke, or you can say something inappropriate, or in one case of my videos, there were people walking by and they were noisy, and I snapped my fingers at them, and I lost all the rapport that I had had, and I had to rebuild it in order to have the conversation go again. So it's something that we tend to take for granted, that we have trust and we have a relationship with people when we engage, but don't always assume it. Check to make sure that you have it and be genuine in achieving it.
What are the difference between you and a pickup artist?
I don't know much about it. So there are some similarities between street epistemology and motivational interviewing, cognitive behavioral therapy, deep canvassing, sales, and even, yes, maybe even pickup artist, I guess. I'm not familiar with it. But what's important, I guess, is, and I think in order to have a really good conversation with somebody, you should attempt to lay out your goals. Now, I don't know if a pickup artist lays out their goals with the person that they're engaging with, but when I'm engaging with somebody, I'll say literally, I'd like to explore that claim that you made, or can you make a claim? And then I'd like to challenge it with questions. Being direct and upfront, I think, is probably the major difference. There are no tricks in SE, or there shouldn't be. Like there are things that you can do to make the conversation go better, but they shouldn't be anything that you'd want to keep from your conversation partner. Ideally, at the end of the talk, your conversation partner will be so grateful for having the talk that they want to learn the method that you used with them. And I don't know if somebody might be able to say the same with other techniques.
Antony, how do you keep being genuine and open-minded and curious? If it's a method, sometimes you can get bored or think, okay, these are finally I can use some tricks because I'm a bit tired. How to keep? Tu vas regarder cette Antony Grenier?
Yeah. Honestly, most of the time that I've used street epistemology, I already knew the person that I was talking to. So it was someone in my family, a friend, or a colleague at my job. So they already knew me. And I'm someone who smiles a lot. So maybe that is easier for me because I almost always smile even at jobs. So maybe it was easier. Even if I asked it a hard question, maybe it's, I don't know, and I don't force them. But the thing is that helped me a lot. I'm interested in what is knowledge and what is a belief. So I don't pretend to know the truth. And the tricks that I can say, the technique that I use is that works a lot for me is the claim that you're claiming, is it a belief or a knowledge? And at the beginning, a lot of time they're saying that it's a knowledge. And at the end of the talk, or they say, I don't know, or they say it's a belief. And they distinguish a belief and a knowledge. So I'm really happy about that because even myself, I have difficulties with that. So when I'm asking questions like this, it's helping me also. When I'm using it, when people that I don't know or don't know a lot, I'm trying to be empathic and trying to understand why they believe it. And a lot of time I understand why they believe this, whatever the claim is. So I can understand because I was raised within religion, Catholic. So I understand why some have claims, whatever the claim are, whatever the belief are. So I think I didn't do that much street epistemology, maybe less than 50 in my life. So maybe that's why for now it's
so sometimes you clutch on your beliefs, on your religious beliefs. It might be difficult to let go in this kind of street epistemology. How do you achieve?
Well, for me, when the person in front of me say, I don't know, or it is a belief and it was claiming that it was knowledge, for me, it's a winning. Because the person in front of me understand that it is a belief and she doesn't have necessarily the proof to show me that it is a knowledge. And I'm doing the same thing for myself. When I don't know something, maybe I do have belief and it's helping myself. For street epistemology, I'm doing street epistemology on myself to be sure that I know things instead of belief. And sometimes I get
confused.
yeah, a lot actually. Yeah.
Side, is it easier to do street epistemology with someone you know or with someone you don't know?
With someone you don't know. Especially because they know I have a skeptic channel. So they say, what are you doing with your weird tricks? Don't use it to me. No, it's no, it's with someone you don't know. It's really easier. And the goal, as you asked just before, is really to and I do it on myself too. That's really funny you say it. It's coming to the point where you have to think a lot for answer the question. The silence, the moment when the people you are talking don't know how to answer and is searching in his mind. This is really the proof the person is recomposing
there is no good or right answer.
No, we don't.
Important.
We don't. The answer is not important. What is important is to take the people to think more about why they say they
believe.
To think more about what they know is true, for sure, and they have to know why they think it's true, and when you are challenging this why, you can come to those silence moments.
Okay,
really important to keep when you have someone in front of you. Really important to keep that silence. Let the people find the answer.
One question for Mr. Magnabosco. In a matter of efficiency, is it? I think you might have some statistics about your the street whoa. You know what I mean? Your practice.
Yes.
Is it in what way is it efficient? Because the title of this exchange, of this panel tonight, was how to convert which is a very strong word, how to convert with street epistemology. So, in a matter of efficiency.
Yes, let me just really quickly, I'll get to the numbers in a second. Well, I'll talk about the efficiency. The goal of SE or street epistemology or whatever is any similar approach where you're asking questions, I think, a street epistemology specifically is reflection. You'll notice that the highlight of many of the videos where you watch people conducting SE is when their conversation partner is thinking about what you've just asked them. That's the goal, is to help people think about their thinking. And there are efficiencies with SE. Some of the main ones include, at the very start, identifying the meaning of the words that your conversation partner is using. That's a very big one. Many, many times, watch interactions, very likely, or reflect on your own. Many times, we're using completely different meanings of the same word. So identifying and clarifying the meaning of the words is very, very important. Also, don't just assume that the person you're speaking with values truth. Many times, and I doubt this is an American thing.
They don't care.
But, there's a significant part of our population.
You're right, Antony.
I don't know. It's more important to many people to believe things because it provides them with value, and they're less concerned about the truth of it. So clear that up at the start. One of the best things you can just ask somebody before you even get into their claim is ask them what they think the word true means and if they value it. And then here's another efficiency. When you identify the claim and you work out all the definitions of the words and you understand where they stand on truth, when they give a supporting reason for their claim, ask them if they would still think their claim was true to the same degree of confidence if they discovered that was no longer a good reason. We call this the real reason check. And many times people will say, oh, I'd still believe it just as much if I didn't have that reason, which means that you could have spent hours, a lot of time talking about a reason that had no bearing whatsoever on their confidence. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's lots of efficiencies, but it's a very big part of SE. It's very efficient. It's almost too efficient. It can be so efficient that you can be driving so deep, so fast, you can be losing rapport and trust and bringing a lot of tension into the conversation. So one thing that we've learned as SE practitioners is to pay very close attention to how your conversation partner is reacting to the questions that you're asking, because you could drive too far too fast and lose that reflection that you're going for.
Are you looking at nonverbal? What signs warns you about the fact that the person in front of you might drift?
Signs that my conversation partner might be getting defensive. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
You might notice it in the body language. It's not a perfect science, but if they cross their arms or they start turning their body away or maybe looking at their watch, those could be indications. Or maybe they change the subject, or they don't answer the question that you've asked, or you notice that they're more confused than reflecting. Just because a person is pausing and thinking doesn't mean that they're thinking reflectively. It could mean that they're just lost and confused. But one of the best things you could do is just simply ask them, how is this going? Do you need to take a break? Do you want to ask me any questions in return? So it should be sort of a balanced partnership rather than this one-way directed interview, which you often see in videos online. But just ask your conversation partner or try to pick up on things that they're saying or doing.
Yeah, there is a legend which say that you didn't have a fight with your partner since 10 years because you always ask. That's good, Antony. Okay, French joke. Sorry.
Good one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see that. You were almost smiling. How do you? I guess you have to make some try and to correct the trajectory of the exchange. Sometimes you went too far and it was too late to catch up with the people you have in front. So I guess with your experience now, can you share some return of experience? We say be very aware of that or that when you are doing the SE, because sometimes you're going too far and it's too late and you won't be able to connect again with interviewee?
Yeah, it's somewhat common for people to say, like, my conversation partner was hostile, or I burnt that bridge with them in the past. We argued, and now they don't want to talk to me again. Don't just start talking with them where you're using this approach. I think you need to do a little damage control. We're learning more about nonviolent communication, where you're revealing your needs and you're trying to understand their needs. So an upset conversation partner or somebody who's even hostile to you, set aside the street epistemology tools and focus on the problem. And you can even use Socratic questions to explore the problems. Like, what would you recommend that I do going forward in our engagements so that we don't fight again? You can ask questions and make it a collaborative thing. So figuring out how to reacquire rapport after you've damaged it is a really vast topic, but it's so important. And we plan on covering it in the upcoming course that we're putting together for SE.
Antony Bertrand-Grenier, on your side, I want to ask the same question about efficiency. Vous avez, je suis fatigué ce soir. Did you notice
to translate?
Yeah, I want you to translate.
You can speak in French, by the way. It's fine with me.
Yeah.
He don't care anymore.
I forgot my French now. So the other Antony Bertrand-Grenier, in a matter of efficiency, est-ce que tu as noté des résultats significatifs?
En français ou en anglais?
Non, tu es obligé de répondre en anglais, toi. Nous, on part du principe que tous les Québécois parlent anglais, ce qu'il faut, hein, mais c'est pas grave.
Yeah.
Confort mental.
Well, I did not do statistics, but I think it happens that the person changes mind. I did not have any street conversation that did not end, that ended bad. So for myself, it was always a win, even if the person didn't change his mind. I must say it works for me, like maybe on the same first conversation, like 10% of the time. I'm not necessarily as expert as Antony Magnabosco, but I must say that every time myself and the person, we go upwards, we were able to understand more about his belief, myself and ourselves, and sometimes since they understand it more, it's better in their life. I must add so to what is truth about Antony. In Quebec, same thing as the United States, people consider truth as what they think they believe. And yes, we can ask the question. That is why I ask also the question, what is truth? And with the belief and knowledge, what I was saying earlier. But I don't have statistics. But since every time conversation ended well, I'm always happy about it instead of a debate, where sometimes a debate does not end well, especially when it's my job, actually. So street epistemology helped me a lot, and it helped me to be better with people in conversation.
Can I add to that, please?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So earlier we were talking about efficiencies, and now we're talking about effectiveness. And I echo Antony's sentiments. I think almost every engagement where I use street epistemology, I have a better understanding of their views. They seem to have a better understanding of their views, and they're eager usually to come back for more, which I think is a good indicator. And many times we try to establish how a certain level of confidence that the person is sure that their claim is true. They may say, I'm 80% out of 100. So we do try to make some attempts to quantify effectiveness or success. But I think there's a risk that we might get so wrapped up in seeing a movement. They must move one way or the other, that you lose sight of all the other benefits that are happening during the conversation. Very rarely do you see people talking about sensitive topics and smiling and thinking about it and wanting to come back for more. That, in my view, is a good indication that there's something very effective about this. However, we want to scientifically study this. This is one of the reasons why we formed the nonprofit called Street Epistemology International, so that we can find scientists who are interested in what we're doing, so that we can scientifically, objectively study it and see what is truly happening long term.
And in a matter of lasting effects, does it last in time, or sometimes the doubt comes again? Or once you've done the conversion, it's forever?
Well, ideally, these tools are for thinking about our thoughts for the rest of our lives. So it's a continuous, curiosity should never stop. Even once you've settled on, maybe you've changed wildly and you've shifted from one belief to another. It doesn't mean you should stop there, I don't think. This should be a lifelong process. And who, we don't know. We don't know what the long-term effects of it are, but anecdotally, we're seeing lots of people from around the world who are using this approach, and they're reporting success. But we do need to study it and see what is truly happening. Yes.
So the next step will be all the scientific validation of this method.
Finally.
Ideally, yes. Yes, we need it. We need it. Because we're giving this advice to people to use the approach because we see the value. But many people who are learning this are also skeptics, and they want the data. I want the data. We need the data.
Ok, on va passer au... Est-ce qu'il y a des questions dans la salle, le Q&A? On va vous passer un micro, mais comme j'ai une énorme flemme, je vais demander à Sam de vous passer le micro.
Ça va ou quoi?
Plaisante. J'arrive. We are starting the Q&A.
Il y en a qui ont des salaires, pas d'autres. Hein.
Ah, t'es au courant? Ça marche, c'est ouvert, vous pouvez parler.
Okay. By the way, French is probably fine as long as it's translated after.
Okay. Tu peux le dire en français, on va traduire.
I can say it in English. It doesn't matter.
Well,
thanks a lot. That was really interesting. And I have one question. It's like two quick questions. It's about the street epistemology, how you do it. So it's for the three of you guys. I've watched quite a lot of your videos, Antony Magnabosco, and it's amazing. Thanks a lot for that work. It's great. And I'm wondering if you think it's a good idea not to say your opinion to the people you're talking to at the beginning. Say, for instance, you're talking about a religion or whatever topic, to keep it like secret. I think that's something you do, but do you think it's better to do it this way or to be straight from the beginning? And the second question is it a good idea to set up a time limit as you do, or you think it's not that important to do it this way? Thanks.
Great questions. So in the interest of trying to get as many questions in, I'll go fast. You can absolutely share your view, but keep in mind that if you do share your view and you disagree, it could raise defenses in your conversation partner. But it's probably better to just take that hit and be transparent and explain your view in a way that you would want them to explain yours, and explain your reasons in a way that you would want them to explain theirs. You can model the behavior that you hope that they will give back to you as you explain that you disagree. But yes, doing so, this is somewhat of a controversy, or it's sort of a personal preference. You may not want to reveal your view because it could cause people to become more guarded. Sometimes revealing your view can open people up even more, even though you disagree. So it's really up to you to decide. Early on, and I guess throughout my entire career of going out on the street, I always had a timer because I wanted to keep the video short. Now, people would watch that. I've actually had some criticisms of that, saying, well, you're putting additional pressure on your conversation partner to get them to finish really fast and rush through it. And that's not what you want to do. So the timer is more of a way of showing that I respect your time and I don't want to hold you up for very long. But most people don't go out on the street and have talks with strangers and time their conversations and put them on YouTube. You're having organic talks with your loved ones more than likely, right? So the timer is optional. You don't even need the timer. But that being said, let me just say, you don't need to have 45-minute long talks. 5-10 minutes tops is likely all you need to inspire reflection.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Great question.
Another question.
Hello. I really want to thank you, Anthony, for what you said is really a game changer for me, because I've been struggling with the street epistemology for a while, because the one person I would need to use it the most on, because she's falling deeper and deeper into beliefs that are really not that great. And I've tried different ways to go through her, and there's nothing that works. And I feel like now it's too late if it comes from me, you know, like I can't reach her anymore. But what you said about like just saying, we're going to have that talk if you're okay with that, and I just listen and question her during the interview, like, I think it can work that way, because I really thought it was over and there was nothing more I could do. But now I feel like it's something I can work with. Like, just we're talking about that. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm not trying, because there are so many different subjects that we clash on, and mostly vaccines. But yeah, like, just we're taking the time today. I'm listening to you. Tell me. I think it changed everything. So thank you so much.
I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes we have people that we've ruffled their feathers. Do you guys have that expression? We've agitated them to the point where they don't even want to talk with us anymore. And that's really unfortunate. My advice would be, if they are still willing to talk with you a little bit, maybe you can just talk about broader things. Don't talk about specific claims, but broader concepts like truth, or the difference between belief and knowledge, or what does it mean to, what does good evidence mean to you? Talking about general concepts related to belief formation could be a re-entry point into talking about a specific claim again, because in the process of discussing truth, your conversation partner might now bring up vaccines. They may actually surface the claim. So that could be a really big difference. If they're bringing up the claim, then that tends to make it a little bit more acceptable to ask them questions about it. And then you said something like, I use SE on my friend. Think about that. Think about changing that to I use SE with my friend. We don't want to use it on somebody. This should really be a collaboration. And that one little word difference might explain why there might be some tension there. And then lastly, there's a survey on the SE website that's 24 questions, very general, like what is truth and are we sharing the same reality, where you're talking about these broader concepts and not the specific claim itself. And I think the survey is perfect with family and friends and people that you've harmed that relationship, and they're a little bit more skittish on talking with you again.
Une question ici, ensuite. On l'a traduit si tu veux, pas de problème.
Ouais. Est-ce que vous avez gardé contact avec certains des gens que vous avez interviewés dans la rue, même devenus amis avec?
Did you keep in touch with the people you've interviewed in the street, or even becoming friends with them?
In a few cases, I've become friends, but mostly they're random people who I've met, and the only time I see them again is at the exact same location I saw them before, just coincidentally. Sometimes they message me and we meet again. There are a few people where I become friends with them, but it's more the exception than the norm.
Et quand est-ce que vous venez en France pour qu'on vous remercie en personne?
When will you come to France in order for us to thank you in flesh?
I would have loved to have been there in person, honestly. And a few people messaged me who live in France, who offered to buy me a drink when I was there. So I think I'm looking forward to it and having a little wine or something when I'm there.
And the weather is exquisite.
Nice.
Bonsoir. J'aimerais d'abord vous dire la raison de ma présence dans cette salle aujourd'hui.
I wanted to tell you why I'm here today.
C'est dans le titre.
In the title of the panel.
Dans le titre, il y a le mot déconvertir.
The word, comment on dit déconvertir? Unconvert?
Je ne sais pas.
Unconvert.
To unconvert. Déconvertir, ça m'a interpellé. Je me suis dit, ne connaissant rien à ce domaine, au monde du
I find it
scepticisme,
striking, knowing nothing about this topic.
je me suis dit, si convertir, c'est religieux, déconvertir, ça doit être anti-religieux.
If the word convert is religious, and convert might be anti-religious.
Alors je me suis dit, allons voir en quoi consiste cette pensée anti-religieuse.
So I said to myself, let's see what consists of this anti-religious thought.
Ensuite, le deuxième élément qui m'a interpellé, c'est entretien épistémique. Et là, je me suis dit, on est clairement dans une démarche philosophique, rationnelle, rationaliste.
Then when I read the comment on traduit entretien épistémologie, street epistemology, I said we are in quoi, une philosophical question.
Disons, question rationnelle, bon.
Ok.
Bon.
Non, mais oui, vas-y.
Et j'ai pas compris.
And I didn't understand.
Je suis un peu déçu.
I'm a bit disappointed.
Le titre m'a trompé.
I've been fooled. I have the feeling I have been fooled.
En termes de philosophie, j'étais surpris.
In matter of philosophy, I was
parce que je me suis dit, je vois pas du tout
surprised because
la différence avec la méthode socratique ou la
Socratic
maïeutique.
method or street epistemology.
Ouais. Je sais pas comment dire maïeutique en anglais.
Pas grave, ça va.
Donc je me dis, la différence étant très mince pour moi, quel est l'intérêt de la démarche? Je dis ça en toute bienveillance, je ne vois pas l'intérêt de la démarche.
I thought the difference between the two methods is thin, so I didn't see any interest in this in the street epistemology.
Et finalement, peut-être ce qui me choque le plus.
And eventually, what shocked me more, il y a beaucoup de choses qui te choquent. Hein?
Oui, je suis quelqu'un de choqué. Ce qui me choque le plus, mais vous inquiétez pas, je suis quelqu'un de rationnel, c'est peut-être qu'on n'a pas traité de la question de la conversion. Alors, pourquoi ce titre?
That's my fault. I made a provocative title. I say do this because that's what people want. That's what people ask usually. You know, they come to my email box, my messenger, etc. They say I have to deconvert my sister who is going in a sect. Comment on dit c'est secte en anglais aussi?
Cult.
In a cult. I want to deconvert it, and it's the wrong way. And what I wanted is to make people who are asking the same question. They came, they see this is not the good question. So this point of your disagreement is my fault.
Let us maybe Anthony answer about the first question.
I have a few thoughts. Yeah, beforehand we met to plan for this panel, and we were grumbling a little bit about the title, but we understand the need to market as such because people are looking for ways to help others who are in their lives, their loved ones, their mom, their dad, people who they think are believing false things or being taken advantage of, or you name it. They're holding a false belief in their mind. So people are drawn to a tool like street epistemology because they understand that the outcome of the goal, remember the goal of SE is reflection. The outcome of that could be belief revision or deconversion. In fact, the book that started street epistemology is called A Manual for Creating Atheists. It was intentionally positioned to atheists to have better talks with theists so that they would reconsider their position on God. So this is both a disadvantage and an advantage to describing the approach. It's advantageous because people want to have a tool that can do that, but it's disadvantageous because it gives the impression that we could be just as zealous as a theist. And that's not what's happening here. So there's a marketing component to it, but in essence, I think if you're approaching every conversation that you have and everything that you're thinking about in an open way, then the tool is useful for that. The tool is useful for reflecting on your own beliefs and the beliefs of others. So it is a little tricky, I have to say. It's one of the dilemmas. It's a sales point of the approach, but it's also a liability. And we try to walk a fine line. But I think as long as you use the tool responsibly And I think we're trying to teach it to be used responsibly. We talked about building a genuine relationship and establishing informed consent and checking in with your conversation partner to make sure you're not going too fast, being open to having them ask you questions in return. We're trying to bake other techniques into the technique to make it more fair, I guess, and less a dogmatic deconversion tool. I'm curious if anyone else on the panel has additional thoughts on that.
I do have. I recommend you a conference of Antony Magnabosco, who's presenting strict epistemology for 1 hour, and even Samuet Buisseret, which is in French.
Tomorrow. Here.
Tomorrow at 11. So I recommend you to learn more about it, because now it's more of a roundtable that we discuss about it. But if you want to learn more about it, I recommend you this.
We are taking the last question here.
Yes, I would like to ask Anthony. I'm, for example, the president of an organization. We have many journalists going around France and different countries to engage conversations with people, and sometimes fact-checking, of course, is not sufficient, you know. So I would like it's just a very simple question. I would like to know what would you recommend, you know, as a content, like it could be tutorials or I know Mr. Sam's YouTube channel, but is there anything that I could share with all the people in my organization that, you know, like a kit or something, you know, like with the yes. main questions to ask, or like a very an introduction, you know, to street epistemology, because I find it so interesting. And thank you again for being there.
Thank you very much for the great question, and how exciting to be able to give journalists who are going around the country these tools, possibly, because it could make their interactions way better. Mr. Sam's videos, of course, I think would be probably the best place to go, because they're in French. And then we have a tip sheet that's been translated into French. It's a 1-page tip sheet that gives you the general questions that you can ask, that basically represents the arc of an SE type of conversation. Many of the videos on my channel have been given captions or transcripts into French. People from France have volunteered to add captions to my videos, and there's a playlist on my channel specifically for that. And there's also this may not be ideal for your needs, but for anyone else who's interested, in the Street Epistemology Discord server, there's a French-speaking role that you can request. And there are dozens of people who are into SE who meet regularly to talk about SE, street epistemology. They practice it, they discuss the criticisms of it and that type of stuff. So there are a lot of resources out there today. Many of it's in English, but we're trying to make it more accessible.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. On peut applaudir nos invités. Merci encore, et on vous donne rendez-vous à 21h15 où Clément Fraise aura fini de travailler pour son ensemble de shows, de spectacles. Il va se passer quoi, Sam?
Hein, quoi?
Ok, merci.
J'aurais aucune idée, moi. Prévoir du Clément Fraise, c'est pas possible.
Mais ça va être énorme.
Ça va être énorme,
21h15 ouais. Et rendez-vous demain pour la deuxième journée de notre événement. Merci encore de votre présence. À bientôt.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you very much.